This panel, you guys have a bit of a description about it, I believe, is simply called Systems. So we're going to widen the conversation a bit. Everybody here is an all-star of the Gowanus Canal or the Gowanus Bay area. We have a bit of an ecological perspective, of course, from Susanna in the Sponge Park, from Gina, who will arrive soon, hopefully. If you say it, she'll arrive, I think. And we have Stephen Whitehouse of Star Whitehouse, of course, and we're going to be shifting a little bit to a perspective from into development issues and, of course, the BOA Brownfield Opportunity Area, which Steve will sort of give a little bit of context. We addressed some of these issues in the last panel, which was quite amazing, and we'll try to continue that conversation. But as I said, try to cast a wider framework about the New York Harbor, or New York and New Jersey Harbor. And of course, we have Tom, who has created a wonderful facility along the Gowanus Bay, and he'll talk a little bit more about that. So it's really great to be here. The last time I moderated, I was on a boat, and it was really loud right when I started, so this is really nice to have some peace and quiet. It seems like it warmed up in here after lunch and coffee and stuff, so it's really great. We'll have some fun. I think we're going to do 20-minute presentations from each of the panelists, and then about a half hour or so, depending on how much time we have, for questions very similar to the last panel. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about an exciting project that MWA has worked on with people in this room, actually, and some people on the panel. We're looking to release this project, which I think is very relevant to the conversation before about planning, envisioning, and prescriptive text amendment, all that exciting stuff that guides what we do at the waterfront. So just to put things in perspective, we all know that there's been quite an evolution of the waterfront. We're sort of couching our idea, our big idea, of sort of what do we build at the waterfront now that we've discovered it. So we have a bit of an evolution, nothing against Battery Park City. We call this Esplanade, really great design. A bit of an 80s, 90s design. We've moved to the Hudson River Park model, which is really getting people out into the water. And then finally, not that we're trying to ask everyone to build Brooklyn Bridge Park, which would be really hard. But this is a bit of a utopia of what we're looking for, balancing resiliency, access, and ecology. That's somewhat exemplified in this photo here. So how do we do that? We know that they're in conflict with each other sometimes, and what WEDGE, which is what I'm going to talk about, Waterfront Edge Design Guidelines, is trying to do is provide a bit of guidance and best practices to people. It's really a tool for people to use, like the Gowanus Canal Conservancy, Steve Levin's office, Brad Lander's office, really for everybody. A little bit about the program genesis. This came out of MWA's policy task force before my time. I think I was a baby at the time, but essentially we've been talking about this for a while. It ended up in Vision 2020, New York City's comprehensive plan. And MWA, I think, is well positioned to, or was well positioned to take it over and run with it. So we've been at it for about 9 months or so. We received a bit of money after Sandy, which really put resiliency and the need for these guidelines into perspective and created this wonderful sort of opportunity to provide these best practices. So we can do better. That's sort of our theme here. We have LEAD, which is for sustainable buildings. We have SITES, which is for landscapes, wonderful tools, and we're sort of following in the footsteps of what they did. So we're calling it WEDGE. This is a bit of a logo that we're lucky enough to receive pro bono services from Pentagram, which we're really excited about. So we're still working on messaging, and like I said, we're going to release it in the next 2 months or so. So it's called WEDGE, not Wedgie. So we have an all-star cast. This is just a partial list. We know that we can only do this with government help, with experts, consultants, and stakeholders and users, which really runs the gamut for everyone along the waterfront. So why use WEDGE? It's really a tool for everyone. It's not regulations. It's a set of best practices. It's really a scoring system for people to use as a developer, as someone is building a park, as you have a working waterfront facility, is going through the process. And it's not just for large projects, it's for small projects too. And we're sort of figuring out exactly how to divide that up into a residential commercial typology, a parks typology, and an industrial maritime typology. So we've had some great success. We've had a bit of press coverage. The Times covered us recently, the Epoch Times. We've been at various events throughout the industry, including this. We've had some early design influences with various developers. The developers have actually asked us for this. We think it's a good conversation tool to use to create a bit of a consistent vernacular as people try to influence the waterfront. And we're really looking at the waterfront as a utility. It's sort of an acknowledgement that we're going to continue to build on the waterfront. No one's thinking of taking everyone out of Rockaway post-Sandy. Strategic retreat is certainly a policy goal, but we're really sort of coming from an approach that what we can do, what we build to the waterfront can be even better than what's there now. So we're releasing the guidelines and our scorecard to accompany it, which is really just a one-page document. An example is here on the screen. We have prerequisites and credits just like LEED and sites. And my final slide, and this is not a segue to Tom, but we've actually just scored the SIMS facility that Tom manages in the Gowanus Bay that Tom will talk more about. We've cobbled together a bit of a waterfront building council, another acronym for you, but as you can see here, we have some professional organizations that have got behind the idea of it and are helping us write it. So that's that. If anything, I'm hoping this is sort of setting the goal that, or the idea that we want to talk today a little bit about larger sort of issues along the harbor and how we can maybe on a site-by-site basis think about collective goals for various issues, including sea level rise, resiliency, stormwater management, and industrial residential forces and development pressures. So with that, I will hand it over to, I believe, Susanna.